Welcome and thanks for joining me. I'm going to be working on the inside pages of this mixed media journal. I got this journal in the mail. It's Recollections brand, and that is a brand that you can find at Michael's. So I'm just putting my craft towel down underneath this journal, and I'm slipping a piece of paper in this side here because I'm going to be doing some spraying with paints and I don't want it to get all over the place. So here I'm taking my Tattered Angels chalkboard paint, and this is the color Violet Rose. The chalkboard paint is a lot like Glimmer Mist, but it is a little bit more opaque, so it puts down more color. It's not as transparent as Glimmer Mist is. So I'm just getting my bottle working here. I don't really like to get a lot of drips and get it really messy, so I'm kind of wiping it off as I go, but that's just a personal preference. I kind of figured out that if you sort of do a movement while you're spraying, you get a nice even coverage, so that's what I'm doing here. Just putting down a nice layer of this lilac rose. Both sides of the layout here are different papers. One side is sort of a regular paper and one side is kind of glossy, so it doesn't really let the paint soak in as much. Here I switched colors. Now I'm using my Black Orchid chalkboard paint. This is a really nice deep purple. And I went ahead and I dried up that page, and I'm going to be working on the other side now. So I'm just folding over my towel. I didn't want to get any paint smears on the front of my album. I'm slipping in my paper behind so to kind of keep the other papers clean. So I'm going ahead and doing, I guess you could call it a hairspray motion across the page with my paints again. You can see, as I mentioned earlier, that this paper is a little bit more glossy. So the paints are kind of pooling in different places, but the effect is really cool when you dry it. And I'm also putting some more of that chalkboard Black Orchid paint on there as well. And I'm hitting it with my heat tool to just speed up the drying process. Now I took some tissue stock from Canvas Corp. This is Damask, I think is how you pronounce it, tissue stock. And I'm taking some clear Glimmer Glam. And this doesn't have any sparkle in it or anything, but it does leave a nice shine over your projects. And I like to use it on top of this tissue stock because it adheres it down and it just gives it a really nice shiny finish. So I'm just taking a flat paintbrush and I'm going to apply some of this clear Glimmer Glam over the whole surface of the tissue. I'm starting with the edges so it will stick down and won't move around as I'm applying this Glimmer Glam. Now I have that tissue all painted down. I'm just setting my paintbrush aside. I'm bringing in some other pieces that I'm going to be applying. I have this piece of paper here. It's from some more Recollections papers. This is a paper pack that I got, and it's got some really nice images and pictures in there. Here I'm showing you the front of the paper pack just to show you what it looks like. You can find that at Michael's as well. I just kind of tore it down the side so it would give a nice distressed look to my page, and I'm going to adhere it down on the other side of my album. I'm going with a purple theme here because I'm doing this layout sort of to show off some of my wedding pictures, and the colors for my wedding was purple and it was in the spring, so I thought this little tulip peeking out there was really nice, and getting some of the purples in there would be a nice touch for my wedding pictures. So I'm taking another piece of this tissue and I'm going to do the same thing on this side as I did on the other side. I'm just going to paint it down with some clear Glimmer Glam to get it to stick. Now I've got that done, and I'm taking a piece of lace from Seven Gypsies, and I just want to add a ruffle on this side. So I'm putting down a strip of tape adhesive, and you'll see how I'm going to apply the lace I just start by sticking one end on the adhesive, and I just fold and push down, and that creates some easy ruffles. Now you'll see I'm using the whole piece of lace, but I did go back later in the video and I trimmed it down to about half because I didn't want too much bulk in this album. Because I know in the future I'm planning on doing some more pages in here, and I just didn't want it to be too big and bulky. Now I'm kind of building on this striped page on the side. I'm taking a strip of vellum that I cut, and I'm rubbing some Versamark ink along the sides. I'm going to be doing some embossing. So I'm just rubbing it along all four sides, and it's kind of hard to see at first where that ink is, but I'm not too worried because it ends up having sort of a messy, distressed kind of look, and that's perfectly fine for the layouts I'm doing here. So I'm taking some white embossing powder. I'm just going to sprinkle it all over and make sure I cover that Versamark ink. Tapping off any excess. Now I didn't use my Ink-a-Dink-a-Doo embossing bag on this. That will put down some powder and help you get a nice clean embossing, but I was going for a messy look, so I didn't even use it. So I used my heat tool and I embossed that and just let it cool for a few seconds, and I'm going to adhere it down right there on my page. Sometimes vellum is kind of hard to adhere down because you can usually see the adhesive behind it, but since I embossed on the edges, I'm putting some adhesive behind some of those embossed areas, so you won't really see the adhesive. So now I'm moving on. I let this set for a little while, but I did come back with a faded text background stamp, and I stamped some gesso in a few places. Now I'm showing you the 7 Gypsies Harmony 6x6 pad. I'm taking some of those pattern papers to incorporate into a few places on my layout here. I'm just going to adhere this down right above the lace. And I did also add a piece of twine on the lace and a little charm that was left over from some of the wedding invites from my wedding. So here's some chipboard pieces from Kaisercraft. These are Kaisercraft collectibles, and I wasn't able to find a link on Amazon, so I don't know if they're still being sold. I've had these for quite a while, but a lot of the chipboard pieces really fit for my theme, so I'm going to go ahead and use them. I'm going to adhere this little adore piece up on the top of this page, and I also have some more pieces picked out for different places. Now I have this little tag. I'm going to start do some stamping on it. I thought I would stamp our wedding date, so I have some number stamps. The stamps I'm using are a 7 Gypsies set. I don't know the name of it. I couldn't find the name on the package, and I actually found this set on sale in the back of the rack at Hobby Lobby, so I haven't really found it anywhere else online, so I don't know if I just picked up an old set. I'm not sure, but I really liked it because it had tons of numbers. So this is a stamp set I got from Recollections as well. They're alphabet stamp set, and you can mix and match all the alphabets to spell out any word you want. So I'm putting down the date of our wedding, just stamping that on the tag, and I like to clean off my stamps with baby wipes. I think it's just fast and easy, and since I have a toddler right now, I have lots of baby wipes in the house. So this is the stamp set I was talking about from 7 Gypsies. You can see it has tons of different numbers, and it's got some barcodes if you want to make some price tags or anything, so I thought it was really cute. I'm just taking a really tiny word, it says date, and I'm stamping that on the tag as well. And I'm using VersaFine Black Onyx ink for all my stamping. Now I have my tag clipped over on the lace. I used a mini clothespin from Canvas Corp. I'm just going to adhere this little heart down using my Tombow Stamp Runner adhesive. I really like this adhesive because you can use it as a regular tape runner or you can stamp it, which is what I just did right there. You just put it down on your paper or whatever you're adhering, and you move that pink handle part down in a stamping motion, and it just applies a nice little square of adhesive. So it's nice for little die cuts and little pieces like this heart. Now I have some photos that I printed off, some wedding photos, and I printed them in wallet sized because I wanted to add a few of them, but I didn't want to take up all of the background space. So I made them a little bit smaller, and I'm just arranging them down in the lower part of this page with some more of the Seven Gypsies Harmony paper and some more of those chipboard dies. Just kind of trying to figure out how I want them all to lay. So I was kind of happy with that, so I'm trying to remember where I need my papers to go. I'm trying to not move that doily too much because I want it to be peeking out from behind my photos. So I'm taking a little pencil and making a mark at the top of this paper where I want it to go. I'm going to adhere that down. And now I'm trying to place that paper doily again, so I'm laying out my pictures to make sure I have just the right placement for it. And I'm just putting some more tape adhesive behind to help hold it in place. And then I can go ahead and put down my pictures and just adhere them where I want them. So I have all my pictures adhered down, and I really like the way they look. I'm taking some of those Kaisercraft chipboard pieces, and I'm just sticking them here and there to give a little bit more interest. Normally, if I was doing a regular scrapbook page, I would probably use foam adhesive to give them a little bit of dimension and interest, but I don't want a whole lot of bulk in this album, so I'm just going ahead and adhering them down flat. So I'm just picking it up closer to the camera so maybe you can see a few of the finer details. Most of my page is pretty much finished, but I did want to go ahead and add a little quote that I really liked. So I'm taking another piece of vellum and I'm going to be embossing on it like I did before. I'm putting a piece of scratch paper behind to catch the embossing powder as I sprinkle it on. But these are the alphabet stamps that I was talking about earlier, the Recollections ones. So you'll see me kind of picking out different words to stamp. I'm using my powder bag for embossing. It puts down a little bit of powder, helps your embossing powder to only stick where the ink is. So it's really handy to get a good crisp embossing look. So I'm picking up my letters, trying to find the right ones to spell out my words, and just using my Versamark ink. You can see some of my stamps were not cleaned well enough, so it's got a little bit of black ink there on a few of the letters, but my white embossing powder will cover those, so I wasn't worried. But if you're using clear embossing powder or some other maybe transparent type color, you do want to make sure your stamps are clean before you stamp, otherwise it will show through. So I have my whole quote stamped out here, and I liked the way it was embossed, so I went ahead and I hit it with my heat tool. And I'm going to be taking my scissors and just cutting it down into a flag shape. So you'll see that here in a second. First, before I cut it down, I am taking a white gel pen and I'm going over a few spots that didn't emboss the way I wanted it to. Also, a few years ago when I was using my embossing powders for Christmas cards, I got a little bit of red embossing powder in with my white. So once in a while I'll get a little bit of red spot in my embossing, and I'll just take my white gel pen and go over it, and it covers the red spots. So that's a good tip if you ever mix some of your powders. I'd say use a new piece of scratch paper every time you change embossing powders or colors, because it's really easy to mix them. So I'm cutting it down into a flag shape here. I'm bringing my album back over, and I'm just going to be trying out some different places for this quote and figuring out what works. I really liked it here over the pictures, but then I thought, well, I don't know if I want to cover up my pictures, so I kept trying different spots. But eventually I did go back to putting them right there over the pictures, because I just thought that's where it looked the best. I didn't adhere it fully down, just on one side, because I figured you can always move that quote over to see the pictures. And I just really liked how it looked there, so I did end up adhering it down right over the pictures. So I'm just putting down some tape adhesive and sticking it in there, and that would be finish my album layout. Hopefully it gave you some inspiration and some ideas. I liked the way it turned out. It's got a lot of little wedding embellishments and some special things that I remember from our wedding. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like or subscribe or comment. I really appreciate your views. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you later.